everyone! So, I'm doing a third video in the same day because, like I said, I'm in that reading mood. So, without further ado, I am number 4 by Pittacus Lore. We are going to start where we left off, chapter 25. And then the weather warms. Brisk winds, bitter cold, and continuous snow showers are followed by blue skies and 50-degree temperatures. The snow melts. At first there are standing puddles in the driveway and the yard, the road wet with the sounds of splashing tires. But after a day all the water drains and evaporates, and the cars pass as they do on any other day. A lull in the action, a brief reprieve before Old Man Winter takes up the reins again. I sit on the porch waiting for Sarah, staring up at the night sky full of twinkling stars and a full moon. A thin, knife-like cloud cuts the moon in two and then quickly disappears. I hear the crunch of gravel under tires, then headlights come into view and the car pulls into the driveway. Sarah gets out of the driver's side. She's dressed in dark gray pants flared at the ankles, a navy blue cardigan sweater beneath a beige jacket. Her eyes are accentuated by the blue shirt peeking out where the jacket zipper ends. Her blonde hair falling past her shoulders. She smiles coyly and looks at me, fluttering her eyelashes as she approaches. There are butterflies in my stomach. Almost 3 months together, and yet I still grow nervous when I see her. A nervousness that's hard to imagine time will ever assuage? Something like that. You look gorgeous, I say. Well, thank you, she says, and bobs a curtsy. You don't look so bad yourself. I kiss Sarah on the cheek. Then Henry walks out of the house and waves to Sarah's mom, who is sitting in the passenger seat of the car. So you'll call when you're ready to be picked up, right? Henry asks me. Yes, I say. We walk to the car and Sarah gets behind the wheel. I sit in the back. She's had her learner's permit for a few months now, which means she can drive so long as a licensed driver sits in the passenger seat beside her. Her actual driver's test is on Monday, 2 days away. She's been anxious about it ever since making the appointment over winter break. She backs out of the driveway and pulls away, eventually flipping the visor down and smiling at me through the mirror. I smile back. So, how was your day, John? Her mother turns and asks me. We make small talk. She tells me of the trip to the mall that the two of them made earlier in the day and how Sarah drove. I tell her about playing with Bernie Kosar in the yard and about the run we went on after. I don't tell her about the training session that lasted for 3 hours in the backyard after the run. I don't tell her how I split the dead tree's trunk straight down the middle through telekinesis, or how Henry threw knives at me that I deflected into a sandbag 50 feet away. I don't tell her about being lit on fire or the objects that I lifted and crushed and splintered. Another kept secret. Another half-truth that feels like a lie. I would like to tell Sarah. I somehow feel that I'm betraying her by keeping myself hidden, and over the last few weeks the burden has really begun to weigh on me. But I also know I have no other choice. Not at this point, anyhow. So, it's this one? Sarah asks. Yes, I say. She pulls into Sam's driveway. He paces at the end of it, dressed in jeans and a wool sweater. He looks up at us with a deer caught in the headlights blank stare. There's gel in his hair. I've never seen gel in his hair before. He walks to the side of the car, opens the door, and slides in beside me. Hi, Sam, Sarah says, then introduces him to her mom. Sarah reverses the car out of the driveway and pulls onto the road. Both of Sam's hands are planted firmly on the seat in nervousness. Sarah turns down a road I've never seen before and makes a right turn into a winding driveway. 30 or so cars are parked along the side of it. At the end of the driveway, surrounded by trees, is a large 2-story house. We can hear the music well before we reach the house. Geez, nice house, Sam says. You guys be good in there, Sarah's mom says, and be safe. Call if you need anything, or if you don't get a hold of your father, she says, looking at me. Will do, Miss Hart, I say. We get out of the car and begin walking to the front door. 2 dogs run up to us from the side of the house, a golden retriever and a bulldog. Their tails are wagging and they're sniffing spastically at my pants, smelling the scent of Bernie Kosar. The bulldog is carrying a stick in his mouth. I wrestle it away from him and throw it across the yard, and both dogs sprint after it. Dozer and Abby, Sarah says. I take it Dozer's the bulldog? I ask. She nods and smiles at me as though in apology. I'm reminded how well she must know this house. I wonder if it's odd for her to be back now with me. This is a horrible idea, Sam says. He looks at me. I'm only now realizing that. Why do you think so? Because only 3 months ago, the guy who lives here filled both our lockers with cow manure and hit me in the back of the head with a meatball during lunch, and now we're here. I bet Emily's already here, I say, and nudge him with my elbow. The door opens into the foyer. The dogs come rushing in past us and disappear into the kitchen, which lies straight ahead. I can see that Abby is now holding the stick. We're met with loud music that we have to yell over to be heard. People are dancing in the living room. There are cans of beer in most of their hands, a few people drinking bottled water or soda. Apparently Mark's parents are out of town. The whole football team is in the kitchen, half of them wearing their letterman's jackets. Mark comes up and hugs Sarah. Then he shakes my hand. He holds my gaze for a second and then looks away. He doesn't shake Sam's hand. He doesn't even look at him. Perhaps Sam is right. This may have been a mistake. Happy you guys can make it. Come on in. Beer's in the kitchen. Emily stands in the far corner talking to other people. Sam looks her way, then asks Mark where the bathroom is. He points the way. Be right back, Sam says to me. Most of the guys are standing around the island in the middle of the kitchen. They look at me when Sarah and I enter. I look at each of them in turn and then grab a bottle of water from the ice bucket. Mark hands Sarah a beer and opens it for her. The way he looks at her makes me realize yet again just how little I trust him. And I realize now just how bizarre this whole situation is. Me, being in his house now, with Sarah, his ex-girlfriend. I'm happy that Sam is with me. I reach down and play with the dogs until Sam comes out of the bathroom. By then, Sarah has made her way to the corner of the living room and is talking to Emily. Sam tenses beside me when he realizes that there's nothing else for us to do but walk up to them and say hello. He takes a deep breath. In the kitchen, 2 of the guys have lit a corner of the newspaper on fire for no other reason than to watch it burn. Make sure you compliment Emily, I say to Sam as we approach. He nods. There you guys are, Sarah says. I thought you had left me all by my lonesome. Wouldn't dream of it, I say. Hi, Emily. How are you? I'm good, she says. Then to Sam, I like your hair. Sam just looks at her. I nudge him. He smiles. Thank you, he says. You look very nice. Sarah gives me a knowing look. I shrug and kiss her on the cheek. The music has grown even louder. Sam talks to Emily, somewhat nervously, but she laughs and after a while he eases a little. So are you okay? Sarah asks me. Of course. I'm with the prettiest girl at the party. How could things be better? Oh, shush, she says, and pokes me in the stomach. The 4 of us dance for an hour or so. The football players keep drinking. Somebody shows up with a bottle of vodka, and not long after that, one of them, I don't know which, throws up in the bathroom so that the smell of vomit wafts throughout the whole downstairs. Another one passes out on the living room sofa, and some of the others draw with a marker on his face. People keep filtering in and out of the doorway leading to the basement. I have no idea what is going on down there. I haven't seen Sarah for the past 10 minutes. I leave Sam and walk through the living room and the kitchen, then walk up the stairs. White, thick carpet, walls lined with art and family portraits. Some of the bedroom doors are open, some are closed. I don't see Sarah. I walk back downstairs. Sam is standing sullenly by himself in the corner. I walk over to him. Why the long face? I ask. He shakes his head. Don't make me lift you in the air and turn you upside down like the guy in Athens. I smile. Sam doesn't. I just got cornered by Alex Davis, he says. Alex Davis is another of Mark James's brood, a wide receiver for the team. He's a junior, tall and thin. I've never talked to him before, and likewise know little else about him. What do you mean by cornered? We just talked. He saw that I've been talking to Emily. I guess they dated over the summer. So what? Why does that bother you? He shrugs. It just sucks, and it bothers me, okay? Sam, do you know how long Sarah and Mark dated? For a long time. 2 years, I say. Does it bother you? He asks. Not in the least. Who cares about her past? Besides, look at Alex, I say, and nod to him standing in the kitchen. He is slumped against the kitchen counter, his eyes aflutter, a thin layer of sweat glistening on his forehead. Do you really think she misses being with that? Sam looks at him, shrugs. You're a good dude, Sam Good. Don't get down on yourself. I'm not down on myself. Well then, don't worry about Emily's past. We don't have to be defined by the things we did or didn't do in our past. Some people allow themselves to be controlled by regret. Maybe it's a regret, maybe it's not. It's merely something that happened. Get over it. Sam sighs. He's still wrestling with it. Go on, she likes you. There's nothing to be scared of, I say. I am, though. Best way to deal with fear is to confront it. Just walk up to her and kiss her. I bet you she kisses you back. Sam looks at me and nods, then goes to the basement where Emily is hanging out. The two dogs come rustling into the living room, tongues dangling, tails wagging. Dozer drops his chest to the ground and waits for Abby to come near enough, and then he jumps at her and she jumps away. I watch them until they disappear up the stairs playing tug-of-war with a rubber toy. It's midnight. A couple's making out on the couch across the room. The football players are still drinking in the kitchen. I'm starting to get sleepy. I still can't find Sarah. Just then, one of the football players comes rushing up the basement stairs, a crazed, frantic look in his eyes. He rushes to the kitchen sink, turns on the water as high as it will go, and begins throwing open the kitchen cupboard doors. There's a fire downstairs, he says to the guys nearby. They begin filling pots and pans with water, and one by one they rush down the stairs. Emily and Sam come up the stairs. Sam looks shaken. What's wrong? I say. The house is on fire. How bad? Is any fire good? And I think we started it. We, knocked a candle into a curtain. Sam and Emily both look disheveled and have clearly been making out. I make a mental note to congratulate Sam later. Have you seen Sarah? I ask Emily. She shakes her head. More guys rush up the stairs, Mark James with them. There's fear in his eyes. For the first time I smell smoke. I look at Sam. Go outside, I say. He nods and takes Emily's hand and they leave together. Some of the others follow, but some stay where they are, watching with drunken curiosity. A few people stand around stupidly patting the football players on the back as they rush up and down the basement stairs, cheering them on as though it's all a joke. I go to the kitchen and grab the largest thing left, a medium-sized metal pot. I fill it with water and then go downstairs. Everybody has evacuated aside from us battling the blaze, which is far bigger than I expected. Half the basement is consumed in flames. Dousing it with the little water I have left is completely futile. I don't try and instead drop the pot and dash back up. Mark comes flying down. I stop him in the middle of the stairway. His eyes are swimming in booze, but through it I can see that he is terrified, that he is desperate. Forget about it, I say. It's too big. We have to get everyone out. He looks down the stairs at the fire. He knows that what I've said is true. The tough guy front is gone. There's no more pretending. Mark! I yell. He nods and drops the pot and we go back up together. Everybody out! Now! I yell when I get to the top of the stairs. Some of the drunker ones don't move. Some of them laugh. One person says, "Where's the marshmallows?" Mark slaps him across the face. "Get out!" he screams. I rip the cordless phone from the wall and shove it into Mark's hand. "Dial 911, I yell over the loud voices and the music that still blares from somewhere like a soundtrack to the erupting pandemonium. The floor is getting warm. Smoke begins to billow up from beneath us. Only then do people take it seriously. I start pushing them towards the door. I dart past Mark as he begins dialing and rush through the house. I take the stairs 3 at a time and kick through the open doors. One couple's making out on a bed. I yell at them both to get out. Sarah's nowhere to be found. I sprint back down the stairs and through the door into the dark, cold night. People are standing around, watching. Some of them I can tell are excited by the prospect of the house burning down. Some laugh. I can feel myself begin to panic. Where's Sarah? Sam stands at the back of the crowd, which must total 100 people. I run to him. "Have you seen Sarah?" I ask. "No," he says. I look back at the house. People are still coming out. The basement windows glow red, flames licking against the panes of glass. One of them is open. Black smoke pours out of it and floats high in the air. I weave through the crowd. Just then an explosion rattles the house. All the basement windows shatter. Some of the people cheer. The flames have reached the first floor. And they're moving fast. Mark James stands at the front of the crowd, unable to divert his gaze away from it. His face is illuminated by the orange glow. There are tears in his eyes, a look of despair, the same look that I saw in the eyes of the Lorik on the day of the invasion. What an odd thing it must be to watch everything you've ever known be destroyed. The fire spreads with hostility and with disregard. All Mark can do is watch. Flames are beginning to rise up past the first floor windows. We can feel the heat on our faces from where we stand. "Where's Sarah?" I ask him. He doesn't hear me. I shake him by the shoulder. He turns and looks at me with a blankness that suggests he still doesn't believe what his own eyes are telling him. "Where's Sarah?" I ask again. "I don't know," he says. I start to weave through the crowd looking for her, getting more and more frantic. Everyone is watching the blaze. The vinyl siding has begun to bubble and melt. The curtains and the windows have all burned away. The front door stands open, smoke pouring out of the top of it like an upside-down waterfall. We can see all the way into the kitchen, which is an inferno. On the left side of the house, the fire has reached the second floor, and that's when we all hear it. A long, terrible scream, and dogs barking. My heart drops. Every person there strains to listen while hoping like hell we didn't hear what we all know we did. And then it comes again, unmistakable. It comes in a torrent, and this time it doesn't let up. Gasps filter throughout the crowd. "Oh no," Emily says. "Oh God, no. Please, no." Chapter 26. Nobody speaks. All eyes are wide open, staring up in shock. Sarah and the dogs must be somewhere in the back. I close my eyes and lower my head. All I can smell is smoke. "Just remember what's at stake," Henry had warned. I know damn well what's at stake, but still his voice echoes. My life and now Sarah's life. There's another scream, terrified, severe. I feel Sam's eyes on me. He has seen firsthand my resistance to fire, but he also knows how I am hunted. I glance around. Mark is on his knees, rocking himself back and forth. He wants it over with. He wants the dogs to stop barking, but they don't stop, and he takes each bark as though being stabbed in the gut with a knife. "Sam," I say so that only he can hear, "I'm going in." He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, fixes me with a stare. "Go get her," he says. I hand him my phone and tell him to call Henry if for some reason I don't make it out. He nods. I begin moving to the back of the crowd, weaving in and out of the mass of bodies. Nobody pays me any attention. When I finally reach the back, I make a mad dash for the yard's perimeter and then sprint to the rear of the house so that I can enter without being seen. The kitchen is completely submerged in flame. I watch it for a brief moment. I can hear Sarah and the dogs. They sound closer now. I take a deep breath, and with that breath, other things come. Anger, determination, hope, and fear. I let them in. I feel them all. And then I lunge forward and sweep across the yard and burst into the house. I am swallowed by the inferno immediately, hearing nothing but the crackle and hum of the flames. My clothes catch fire. There is no end to the blaze. I move to the front of the house, and half of the stairs have burned away. What is left is on fire, looking brittle, but there isn't time to test them. I rush up, but they collapse under my weight when I reach the halfway point. I tumble down with them. The fire's rising as though someone has stoked the flames. Something pierces my back. I grip my teeth, still holding my breath. I stand from the rubble and listen to Sarah screaming. She's screaming, and she's scared, and she's going to die. Die a hideous, miserable death if I don't get to her. Time is short. I'll have to jump to the second floor. I jump and grab hold of the edge of the floor and pull myself up. The fire has spread to the other side of the house. She and the dogs are somewhere to my right. I leap down the hallway, checking rooms. The pictures on the walls have burned in their frames, nothing more than blackened silhouettes melted to the wall. Then my foot falls through the floor, and my breath catches in surprise, and I breathe in. Nothing but smoke and flame enter. I begin coughing. I cover my mouth with my arm, but it does little to help. Smoke and fire are burning my lungs. I drop to a knee, coughing, gasping. Then a fury surges through me, and I stand back up and I move on, hunched over, gritting my teeth, determined. And then I find them in the last room on the left. Sarah's screaming, "Help!" The dogs are whining and crying. The door is closed, and I kick it open, send it flying off its hinges. All three of them are huddled as tightly against one another as far into the corner as they can get. Sarah sees me and yells my name and starts to stand. I motion to her to stay where she is, and as I step into the room, a huge flaming support beam falls between us. I raise my hand and send it upwards, crashing through what remains of the roof. Sarah seems confused by what she's just seen. I leap towards her, covering 20 feet in a single bound, moving straight through the flames without them affecting me at all. The dogs are at her feet. I push the bulldog into her arms and pick up the retriever. With my other arm, I help her stand. "You came," she says. "No one and nothing will ever hurt you as long as I'm alive," I say back to her. Another huge beam falls and takes out part of the floor, landing in the kitchen below us. We need to get out the back of the house so no one sees me, or sees what I think I'm going to need to do. I hold Sarah tight against my side and the dog against my chest. We take 2 steps, then leap over the flaming chasm created by the fallen beam. As we start to move down the hall, a huge explosion below takes out most of it. The hallway is gone. Where it used to be are a wall and a window quickly being consumed by flames. Our only chance is through the window. Sarah screaming again, clutching my arm, and I can feel the dog's claws digging into my chest. I lift my hand towards the window, stare at it and focus, and it blows out of its frame, leaving us the opening we need. I look at Sarah, pulling her securely against my side. "Hold on tight," I say. I take 3 steps and dive forward. The flames swallow us whole, but we fly through the air like a bullet. heading straight towards the opening. I'm worried we're not going to make it. We barely clear it, and I feel the edge of the shattered frame scrape against my arms and the tops of my legs. I hold Sarah and the dog as best as I can, and twist my body so that I'll land on my back and everyone else will land on top of me. We hit the ground with a thud. Dozer goes rolling. Abby yelps. I hear the breath go out of Sarah. We're about 30 feet behind the house. I feel a cut on the top of my head from the broken glass of the window. Dozer is the first one up. He seems fine. Abby's a little slower. She limps on her front paw, but I don't think it's anything serious. I lie on my back and hold Sarah. She is starting to cry. I can smell her singed hair. Blood drips down the side of my face and gathers in my ear. I sit in the grass to catch my breath. Sarah's in my arms. The bottoms of my shoes have melted. My shirt is completely burned away, and so have most of my jeans. Small cuts traverse the length of both arms. But I'm not burned at all. Dozer walks over and licks my hand. I pet him. You're a good boy, I say between Sarah's sobs. Go on. Get your sister and go back up front. There are sirens in the distance that should be here within the next minute or two. The woods are about 100 yards from the back of the house. Both dogs sit watching me. I nod to the front of the house, and they get up as if they understand, and both begin walking that way. Sarah is still in my arms. I turn her, so she is cradled in them, and I stand and head to the woods, carrying her as she cries on my shoulder. Just as I enter them, I hear the whole crowd erupt in cheers. Dozer and Abby must have been seen. The woods are dense. The full moon still shines, but there is little light coming from it. I turn my hands on so we can see. I start to shiver. Panic sweeps through me. How will I explain this to Henry? I'm wearing what now look like singed cut-offs. My head is bleeding. So is my back, along with various cuts on my arms and legs. My lungs feel as though they are on fire with every breath I take, and Sarah is in my arms. She now must know what I can do, what I am capable of, or at least some of it. I'm going to have to explain everything to her. I'll have to tell Henry she knows. I already have too many strikes against me. He'll say someone will slip up at some point. He'll insist we leave. There's no way around it. I set Sarah down. She stopped crying. She looks at me, confused, scared, bewildered. I know I need to get some clothes and get back to the party so that people aren't suspicious. I need to get Sarah back so people don't think she's dead. You're okay to walk? I say. I think so. Follow me. Where are we going? I need to get some clothes. Hopefully one of the football players has a change of clothes for after practice. We start walking through the woods. I'm going to circle around and look inside people's cars for something to wear. What just happened, John? What is happening? You were in a fire, and I got you out. What you did isn't possible. It is for me. What's that supposed to mean? I look at her. I had hoped never to have to tell her what I'm about to tell her, even though I knew it probably wasn't realistic. I had hoped to stay hidden in paradise. Henry has always said never to get too close to anyone, because if you do, at some point they're going to notice that you're different, and that will require an explanation, and that means we have to leave. My heart is pounding. My hands are shaking, but not because I'm cold. If I have any hope of staying or of getting away with what I did tonight, I have to tell her. I'm not who you think I am, I say. Who are you? I'm number 4. What's that supposed to mean? Sarah, it's going to sound stupid and crazy, but what I'm about to say is the truth. You have to believe me. She touches her hand to the side of my face. If you say it's the truth, then I'll believe you. It is. Then tell me. I'm an alien. I am the 4th of 9 kids sent to Earth after our planet was destroyed. I have powers unlike any human, powers that allow me to do things like I did in the house. And there are other aliens here on Earth who are hunting me, the ones who attacked my planet, and if they find me, they will kill me. I expect her to slap me, or laugh at me, or scream, or turn and run away from me. She stops and looks at me, looks right into my eyes. You're telling me the truth? She says. Yes, I am. I look into her eyes, willing her to believe me. She stares searchingly at me for a long moment, and then nods. Thank you for saving my life. I don't care what you are or where you're from. To me, you're John, the boy I love. What? I love you, John, and you saved my life, and that's all that's important. I love you too, and I always will. I wrap my arms around her and kiss her. After a minute or so, she pulls away. Let's go find you some clothes and get back so people know we're okay. Sarah finds a change of clothes in the 4th car we check. They're close enough to what I was wearing, jeans and a button-down shirt, that no one will notice the difference. When we reach the house, we stand as far away as possible while still being able to see. The house has collapsed in on itself and is now nothing more than a twisted heap of blackened coals soggy with water. Wisps of smoke sporadically rise, looking ghastly in the night sky. There are 3 fire trucks. I count 6 cop cars. 9 sets of flashing lights, but no sound to go with them. Few people, if any, have left. They've been pushed back, the house cordoned off with yellow tape. The police officers are questioning some of them. 5 firemen stand in the middle of it all, sifting through the rubble. Then I hear, "There you are!" yelled from behind me. Every set of eyes in the crowd turns my way. It takes me a full 5 seconds to realize that it's me the person is referring to. 4 police officers walk towards us. Behind them is a man holding a notepad and tape recorder. While we were looking for the clothes, Sarah and I agreed on a story. I came around the back of the house where she was watching the fire. She had jumped out of the second-floor window with the dogs, who had run away. We had watched away from the crowd, but eventually drifted over and joined it. I explained to her that we couldn't tell anyone about what happened, not even Sam or Henry, that if anyone found out the truth, I would have to leave immediately. We agreed that I would answer the questions and she would agree with whatever I said. "Are you John Smith?" one of the cops asks me. The officer is of medium height and stands with his shoulders hunched. He isn't overweight, but he is far from being in shape, with a slight paunch and an overall look of softness. "Yes, why?" "2 people said they saw you run into that house and then come flying out the back of it like Superman, with the dogs and the girl in your arms." "Seriously?" I ask in disbelief. Sarah stays beside me. "That's what they said." I fake a laugh. "The house was on fire. Do I look like I was inside a burning house?" He scrunches his eyebrows together and rests his hands on his hips. "So you're telling me you didn't go in there?" "I came around the back to try and find Sarah," I say. "She'd gotten out with the dogs. We stayed back there and watched the fire and then came over here." The officer looks at Sarah. "Is that true?" "Yes." "Well, who ran into that house then?" The reporter beside him chimes in. It's his first time speaking. He watches me with shrewd, judging eyes. I can already tell that he doesn't believe my story. "How do I know?" I say. He nods his head and writes something in his notebook. I can't read what it says. "So you're telling me these 2 witnesses are liars?" the reporter asks. "Baines," the officer says, shaking his head at him. I nod. "I didn't go into the house and save her or the dogs. They were outside." "Who said anything about saving her or the dogs?" Baines asks. I shrug. "I thought that's what you were implying." "I didn't imply anything." Sam walks up with my phone. I try to fix him with a stare to tell him the timing is bad, but he doesn't understand and he hands me my phone anyway. "Thanks," I say. "I'm happy you're okay," he says. The officers glare at him and he slinks away. Baines watches with his eyes squinted. He's chewing gum, trying to piece the information together. He nods to himself. "So you handed your phone to your friend before you went for a walk?" he asks. "I handed him my phone during the party. It was uncomfortable in my pocket." "I bet it was," Baines says. "So where did you go?" "All right, Baines, that's enough questions," the officer says. "Can I leave?" I ask him. He nods his head. I walk away with my phone in my hand, dialing Henry's number with Sarah at my side. "Hello?" Henry answers. "I'm ready to be picked up," I say. "There's been a terrible fire here." "What?" "Can you just pick us up?" "Yes, I'll be there." "So how do you explain the cut on the top of your head?" Baines asked from behind me. He had been following me, listening to my call to Henry. "I cut it on a branch in the woods." "How convenient," he says, and again writes something in his notebook. "You know I can tell when I'm being lied to, right?" I ignore him, keep walking away with Sarah's hand in mine. We head over to Sam. "I'll find the truth, Mr. Smith. I always do," Baines yells behind me. "Henry's on the way," I say to Sam and Sarah. "What the hell was that all about?" Sam asks. "Who knows? Somebody thinks they saw me run in, probably somebody who drank too much." I say more at Baines than Sam. We stand at the end of the driveway until Henry arrives. When he pulls up, he steps out of the truck and looks at the smoldering house far off in the distance. "Ah, hell. Promise me you weren't a part of this," he says. "I wasn't," I say. We get into the truck. He pulls away while looking at the smoking rubble. "You guys smell like smoke," Henry says. None of us reply, making the drive in silence. Sarah sits on my lap. We drop Sam off first, then Henry pulls out of the driveway and points the truck towards Sarah's home. "I don't want to leave you tonight," Sarah says to me. "I don't want to leave you either." When we arrive at her house, I get out with her and walk her to the door. She won't let go of me when I hug her goodnight. Will you call me when you get home? Of course. I love you. I smile. I love you too. She goes inside. I walk back to the truck where Henry's waiting. I have to figure out a way to keep him from finding out the truth about tonight, for making us leave paradise. Henry pulls out and drives home. So what happened to your jacket? He asks. It was in Mark's closet. What happened to your head? I hid it trying to get out when the fire first started. He looks over at me doubtfully. You're the one who smells like smoke. I shrug. It was a lot of it. So what started it? Drunkenness is my guess. Henry nods and turns down our road. Well, he says, it will be interesting to see what's in the papers on Monday. He turns and looks at me, studying my reaction. I keep silent. Yes, I think. It most certainly will be. Alrighty, so that was the end of chapter 26. We will begin on chapter 27 in the next video. So it's about 30 minutes or 31 minutes. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. Okay, that was Reading by Ree. Bye.